Class is in session. The Brofessor is in. And with me today, I got my buddy Mike, and he is going to help me try to go over with you the Ultimate Champions, the Universal Champions Club pass that's on the portal, and how to not only navigate it, but get the most out of it. So that way you can continue to get to the superstars that you want to get off of that prize wall and collect the currency, how to game the system as best we can to your advantage. So welcome, Mike. Thanks for joining me in the classroom today.
Thank you for having me.
First off, as you can see, Mike has a healthy sum of currency already. He's had this since day one, and now that they've changed the prices of everything, Mike is now obviously going to hopefully get some people a lot sooner. But why don't you show everybody sort of who it is you're sort of going after right now, so that way people can sort of understand where you're coming from.
So I'm currently after Indi, obviously, because she is the no shard recruit. So that's what I'm saving up for, the 700,000. And then after her, I will probably go after Naomi once she is put on here. And the reason for that is because I know you can buy her shards in the portal right now, but at this moment, that's a little too expensive for me. So I would rather just treat her as a non-shard character, and I'll just recruit her in time when I have enough. And the reasoning for that is because she's a current modern superstar, and just like Indy, you never know when their contract is going to be up. So if they're no longer in the game, then they're not going to be easy to recruit.
Absolutely.
So,
And Indy has
and
always been a difficult one for everybody to get, right? So she's not exactly easy to
exactly,
get. And Naomi's going to be something probably similar. She's probably not going to have her shards everywhere as well, too. So now that
exactly.
now that we know the strategy, so when the Universal Champions Club came onto the scene, what what prompted you to say that this is actually a good idea and something that I, as a player, should purchase on a month to month basis? What was it that actually prompted you to sign in then when the prices were even higher than they are now?
Well, I was doing some of the math and I was trying to figure out if this was actually going to be a good way to go as far as getting the character. And I was looking over the prestiges and what they give out. Once you hit certain points, 8,000, once you get up to here and 10,000 there. And I just figured, okay, well, I'll just look at Indy as a long recruit and I'll get her, when I save up 1 million, and we'll see what I can average per month because I do spend on the game and I do try and collect all the characters. So that's how I said, okay, well, it seems like a good system. If I can get the card for spending my money, then that works for me.
So this is something that I think a lot of people have asked before is, is this Champions Club worth getting, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with what it is that you're getting sort of out of it, right? But it is something that you would need to spend on with which to make it worth your while. So if you're somebody who is spending in the game and wants to find a quicker way to get, or at least get rewarded more for sort of what it is that you're doing, then this would be sort of how you would do it, right?
Yes.
Exactly. All right, so we've got your screen up here, and this is the mission sort of section. So when people come into the mission section, they're going to see weekly and monthly missions. We waited for yours to reset so we can sort of see sort of how you go about then planning your week and your month. So how now that that it's at this position, what advice would you give to people in terms of how they should plan their month, spending, spinning loot, so forth?
So I already knew last month that the event was coming to an end, and I was judging about where the next milestone was. I was at 2.7 million, and the next milestone was 3.7 million. And I was doing the math between the two milestones, and based on what they had available, is about 280 pulls away, and I knew I wasn't going to do 280 pulls. So the strategy was to go ahead and hold any pulls that I have been building from buying the backstage pass. And currently I have that up to about 32 pulls that I need to do for backstage, or that for the month-long darkness loop that I gained through backstage. So I've just been holding those. I have another 9 pull as well for one of these loots that's currently out right now. Can't remember the name of it. And I'm holding that as well because I knew we were going to have the first, and the loot didn't end until tomorrow at reset. So I'm taking advantage um, by holding on to these polls, letting last month it expire, and just doing them today on the first.
So month by month, when everything, excuse me, resets itself, is an excellent time to sort of hold off and sort of gauge how much you have in between your monthly, where you saw there was a large enough gap, and then waiting it for this month in order to actually make some headway this coming month. Now that we're starting in August, so as we can see, you have on the first weekly, you haven't hit sort of that milestone. So how much? So I guess another way to put this is, so now that we're at the beginning of the month, what is the strategy with which to maximize the amount of currency that you're going to get this month on your road to Indy?
So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and max these weekly ones. And, if depending on the weeks, what if I'm going to spend. So, like this first week, I don't usually spend. And part of that is because we get the fuse, and then it'll also be based on, the month-long blog. I don't know what's going to be happening this weekend as far as what's available. Um, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I do try and just max the weeklies for sure. And then from there, just do my regular pulls. I just try and get the cards that are available, try and get them all every month. I don't go crazy, uh, doing like 8 or 10 megas or something like that. I try and keep it to as minimum as possible, using a strategy to recruit the cards based on shard recruiting, not actually pulling anything.
So all right, first week now. You're okay. So how many medallions then are you getting? Like for this week. So I know right now we're going to do a few pulls, and so let's sort of go over sort of what is in game for you right now, and then how this is going to increase everything that you have, so people can sort of get an idea of how this is going to add up for them if they're doing these other things that like you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so a lot of it's about being patient. I mean, it's only this first marker for the weekly is 75,000. Currently, I have these 9 pulls right here, so that'll add on 45,000 to that total. So that'll take me up to 67,000. And then I'll go ahead and do this one, and that's worth 10,000. And we'll double check to make sure that the claim works and that we do get credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I hadn't paid attention whether I do or not. I'm assuming I do. So, but we can double check that to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that should pretty much do me for the weekly. And depending on, the blog tonight, we'll see if I'm going to do any pulls for the weekend, if there's a moment maybe for TIFF. So, but these 36 that I'm holding on to, I will just wait until Monday, and I will actually do all these pulls in the morning, and because that's when before reset, because that's when this gets ready to expire.
Mm-hmm.
So then that'll take care of the weekly for me for next week, and then I can just see what's going to be available, and then all that, will just increase my stats over the month, and then I'll just kind of gauge where I'm heading over the month, and then towards the end of the month, I'll see how far I am from the next milestone, and then I'll decide if I'm going to do any more pulls or if I'm just done for the month and to start saving.
So the strategy sounds like on a week by week basis, you're going to try to get to the weekly milestones, whatever they are, so that way you can get the currency that then accumulates onto your account. So this week, for example, how much how many points do we need to get, and how much currency is that going to net you on your account?
So it's only going to net me 5,000 for completing the weekly, but you know, it's kind of hard to tell you like the monthly ones. I would have to sit down and plan it out the whole way. But you
Hmm.
can see there's 8,000, there's another 8,000, and there's another 8,000 right there. So right there, that's 24,000, and with the weekly, that's 29,000, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. But I mean, this is from the beginning, and I'm almost at 400,000. So it all adds up.
And it's money that you're already spending on the game, and it's already
Exactly.
it's you're doing nothing different. You're only just pulling at different times with a little bit more patience than you would be sort of before, because you want to maximize everything that comes with it.
Exactly.
All right, so let's at this point go and see how the everything sort of adds up. So do whatever pulls that you would normally do. So just a reminder for those that aren't aware of it, that you get a free claim for every premium loot with the Prestige Pass, the one that is $29.99, I believe, a month in the in the portal. And so, as you can see, it says claim above the number one. So that is what you would get. You would get your free claim pull for every single loot, and that's what I think Mike's going to hit right now.
Yeah, wish me luck.
Good luck. Big bucks, no whammies.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if it's Naomi?
It'd be amazing if it was. That's not a bad little hit. It's, 6,000 for a lot of people would take the Great Khali at six
Yep.
bronze, right? So you can see that it said Champions Club credit that it gave him for those two things, right? So he got both medallions for it, right? And as you can see
Yep.
there,
And then you can see.
so just that free claim in itself. The one on the top left says weekly, so his weekly number has now gone up, as well as his monthly numbers as well too. So you can see that it, and if you keep scrolling down, it adds it up cumulatively for each one of these, right? So each one of these, he has points. What does it say? 10,000 for each one of those.
So it was 10,000 for from that particular loot. It's 10,000 for each of them.
Okay.
So,
So
yep.
yeah, so each
So I
each one of
got
those is
10,000 to start the month. Here we go.
there you go. So now we've already got 10,000, and then there's the one weekly that he's going to try to get. So each one of those monthly ones that you can build up to is obviously going to get you more and more of that currency. Again, we've only had this going for less than 2 months, right? And as you can see, Mike already has 400K available to him. All right, what other pull are you throwing out there
So
today?
this one's gonna expire before reset. So we're gonna go after this, and we might be back in here later to do more polls on it, depending on the blog tonight potentially.
Okay, we might come back for more.
Maybe we'll see.
If we need to, we will. Shards and shards. I did see that the number
Yeah,
was
actually,
7, so there's definitely not gear in here for you, unfortunately.
no, no, there's no gear.
So far, nothing spectacular. Everything free and stuff. Some people might like the
Yeah,
goat.
I almost wish we had time too speed on these things sometimes.
Yeah, that's a free character that everybody else got. So I think what you said was really interesting was that you're not going after trying to get the different posters on their own. You're not trying to pull them. What you're trying to do is to shard recruit all of them, and then use over time that to get posters in the Universal Champions Club, right? So you're not actually going after specific cards, you're going after points at basically in shards rather than just hoping and praying, right?
Yeah, because that's kind of what you're doing if you're trying to go after the cards that specific way. It's kind of like so to go back to what I need for my account. So when we talk about superstars right now, like Vader is in here, and I could get him at 800,000. but I'm also 30 shards away from recruiting him.
Hmm.
So there's really no point in trying to pull him off of to use my currency that I built up to get a card like that. And same thing with Rex Regum. I wouldn't recommend this card either, even though I'm pretty close. Only because of the same reason. I have over 4,000 shards. I feel like if I just steady the course, I can get that over time
Hmm.
um, through prize walls or potentially even pulls, and
Hmm.
I'll be able to get the card.
Hmm.
I think the best way to use this is for cards that are going to be shardless recruits, such as Indy, Fatu, Goldberg is a good example. And I've heard he's at 200,000 right now. So if you really want Goldberg, there
Hmm.
you go.
Hmm. Exactly.
And then there's other cards out there, Seth freaking Rollins. Um, Eventually Naomi will be in here. So
Hmm.
I think that's the best way to take advantage of this.
Yeah, and again, for those that are looking in and seeing it, right? So Mike has a lot of the cards in the game. Mike is very well done a very good job of collecting people in the game that are there, right? So for him, this is going after the big prizes, right? The ones that are really hard to get, that don't have a lot of shards, that seem to be impossible to pull from the loot, and that's your sort of strategy to it. And anybody, and a good piece of advice is that any card or poster that you are close to recruiting or within, shooting distance shard wise, is probably somebody you should continue to let get shard wise rather than pulling them from this prize wall like that. But this is, as I've said on prize wall videos over and over, it really depends on your rooster. Is there somebody in your roster that you need for coaching ability, like a Sherry, right? So what if you don't have Sherry, or there are lots of superstars like that for their coaching ability, you might want to get them first because they make everybody better. So you really do have to sort of gauge your roster about what would be the best position for you. But this is, again, so you can see what Mike is missing, and it's not a lot. It's not a whole heck of a lot of things that you are actually missing in this game. So for you, getting those characters that are extremely hard to get, that's what you're going to go after, right? But you wouldn't put that on Sammy, right? So that Acro Sammy, who you're only missing, how many shards are you missing for Sammy there?
100 shards. So
100.
hopefully he'll be on a prize wall this weekend.
So yeah, so Sammy, Vader, Rex, like all of those are people that you will eventually get through shards if you're patient enough for it. But not a good class of people to go get and spend because you're accumulating this currency over such a long period of time. So it doesn't make sense for that. Let's head back to the other screen, and we'll see where you are now that you've done that 9 pull and see what it looks like for you. All right, so
So for the month, I'm up to 55,000 just based on the 9 pull and the unclaimed that I got.
nice.
So as much as I would love to do those polls for the month long, because who doesn't love doing polls? It just doesn't make sense to do it right now. Might as well just hold it. So
Nope.
I'm gonna claim all, which is only gonna give me my 5,000 for the weekly, but and then we'll kind of see what the blog is.
Yeah, and each pull itself also comes with currency. So at the beginning of the video, you were at roughly 392,000 currency. You just claimed.
Oh, there was a weekly and a monthly that I claimed, so I got 5,000, and then here's a monthly that's at 50,000, and I got another 8,000. So altogether, that was 13,000.
13,000 more. There you go. So, and then whatever you for the pulls themselves too. So now you're at what, 407,000 or so? Is that what it says?
Yep,
There you go.
407.
So then what's going to happen is next week, so on Monday when it resets again, you'll do the next weekly, right? And then you'll start to accumulate more and keep going on that. So what we're going to do then for the remainder of this month is we're gonna follow Mike on a week by week basis, sort of see where he's at with things, and whenever he does pulls, we will follow. We will let the story continue. We're gonna let Mike finish his story in getting Indi. The quest for Indi is what we'll call it.
Finish my story.
We're gonna let Mike finish his story. Uh, the quest for Indy, finish the story. Mike's travels to get that. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna continue playing these on a sort of a week by week basis, or whenever Mike's doing pulls, we'll get together and we'll see how much that gets him, and try to gauge how much you can get on a month to month basis, and that way you can follow along too, the viewer, and see if you can sort of follow the same path. So, Mike, thanks for going on the journey with us.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we will get this the next time. The next time you're doing pulls, we'll get back together and we'll see how much that adds to it, and we'll hopefully get you Indy within the next couple of months. It should be a 2 month journey, I'm assuming.
I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at this loot right here. That could be within the next half hour.
So the next video of this might drop a lot sooner than we're thinking. considering what Mike might be able to get out of the loot. So, all right, Mike, appreciate you again. Thanks so much.
Yep. Talk to you later.
All right, Brofessor out.